Good evening and welcome. I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and it's a pleasure to welcome everyone to tonight's March 13, 2019 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. We appreciate all of you that are here in person tonight, but we also appreciate everyone who is watching remotely, whether you're watching us on Spectrum Community Access Channel 1303 or streaming live on YouTube. However you watch us, we want to make it as easy as possible for you to participate. If you are here in the room, on the back table is the agenda for tonight's meeting, along with a packet containing all of the supporting materials that go along with the agenda. If you are remote, watching on YouTube or on our cable access channel, you can access all of the same material on our town webpage at townofbrighton.org. And in any event, however you do it, we welcome you to follow along with us this evening. I do want to mention, in case of an emergency, you will hear the town hall emergency alarm system. If you hear that, and you will know it if you hear it, please leave the room immediately, either by going out the door to my right, marked with the exit sign, turn right, go down the stairs and out the rear entrance of Town Hall, or exit by either one of the two double doors in the rear of this room, also marked with an exit sign, through the lobby, out the front door, down the steps, and away from Town Hall. Now, we do occasionally experience technical difficulties during our live Spectrum broadcast. If you are watching us live on Spectrum Cable Channel 1303 and you experience difficulties with the audio or the video, please contact Spectrum. Their number is 756-5000. Again, that is 756-5000. I'd like to start tonight with a pledge to the flag, and I will ask Councilmember Warner to lead us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Tonight's meeting will begin with the State of the Town address. We will then go to our recognition. We do have a proclamation tonight for Women's Month, and then the open forum will begin. So thank you for joining us tonight, for coming to hear the State of the Town of Brighton for 2019. I present this address each year at a town board meeting because every town board meeting is open to the public, televised, as you know, on our cable access channel 1303 and live streamed on YouTube. Each year we also make a point of engaging an ASL sign language interpreter for the State of the Town address. This year I'm pleased to announce that not only are we interpreting the address, we'll be interpreting tonight's entire town board meeting, and it is my intention going forward to ask the town board to consider funding to make that a permanent plan so that all future meetings of the town board will be ASL sign language interpreted. And I want to thank our interpreters tonight, Tony and Dale, for being here. Thank you very much. Now, it would be tempting this year to simply note that in 2018, Brighton was rated the best place to live in New York State, ranked higher than hipster neighborhoods in New York City, like Chelsea or Brooklyn Heights, higher than Tony suburbs in Westchester County and Long Island, like Scarsdale and Great Neck, and higher than college towns, like Ithaca. That accomplishment, rated by Niche.com, was based on a ranking system that considered such criteria as schools, public safety, ease of commute, health and fitness, diversity, jobs, and several other criteria. No one will be surprised to hear that the only criteria that Brighton fell short in is our weather. Now, it may be tempting, but in the end, as proud as we are to be recognized in this way, we cannot afford the luxury of resting on our laurels. Change brings its own challenges, but change is essential if we are to maintain and enhance our exceptional quality of life in Brighton. An important part of the job of local government is to analyze community needs and manage change in a way that ultimately enhances the quality of community life. If we fail to manage and embrace change, we, as a community, will be left behind other communities that do. Tonight, in reviewing the state of our town of Brighton, I want to talk about our collective accomplishments as a community, but I will also focus on how we can plan for and manage change to further enhance the quality of life that makes us all so proud to call Brighton home. First, I do want to acknowledge a number of people who are here tonight that each in your own way make a measurable contribution to that quality of life I just referred to. County Legislator Josh Baroth, thank you for joining us. Judge Karen Morris is here. Rick Garrett from the Brighton Fire Department, an important partner of ours. I believe I see Brighton Central School District Board member Christina Lee. Christina, welcome. Rabbi Peter Stein from Temple Beth Kodesh is also with us this evening. Thank you, Rabbi. And a familiar face to everybody on Sundays in Brighton, our Brighton Farmers Market manager, Sue Gardner-Smith. Thank you for all you do to enhance our quality of life. Now, during 2018, we completed a number of important projects. First is the Monroe Avenue Green Infrastructure Grant Project. The GIGP is a stormwater project funded by a state grant, which also improves the appearance of Monroe Avenue, promotes transit and pedestrian use of the avenue, and encourages economic development in Brighton. The GIGP had its roots in the leadership of town staff in the Monroe County Stormwater Coalition and in the concepts set forth in the Monroe Avenue Design Charrette held by the town several years ago. The GIGP has been recognized as the State Transportation Project of the Year at a cost less than $5 million, as awarded by the New York State chapter of the American Public Works Association, and that award will be received by the town at a dinner later this month. I want to congratulate Public Works Commissioner Mike Guyon, your predecessor, Tim Keefe, who was very much a part of the Stormwater Coalition and brought this project to the table, and to the entire Town Highway Department and Public Works staff who made this award-winning project a reality. Thank you, Mike. Also in 2018, the town completed our Envision Brighton 2028 Comprehensive Plan update. The comprehensive plan is a roadmap to enable us to plan future land use decisions in Brighton. And the Envision Brighton 2028 plan, which was funded by a state grant, is specifically focused on making Brighton a more environmentally sustainable community. The plan includes 4 major policy frameworks: environmental, sense of community, economic vitality, and public health and safety. Within each policy statement, within each policy section, the plan contains a policy statement with objectives that are then designed to carry out that overall policy statement, and finally, a number of recommendations specifically intended to implement those objectives. The plan also contains a series of land use recommendations focused on several sub-areas of the town of Brighton, together with a specific master plan for Buckland Park. All told, this plan is truly comprehensive, and we have already begun to implement the recommendations set forth in the plan. The ongoing implementation of plan recommendations will continue to be a major goal of ours in the years to come, so that Brighton can continue to thrive as a sustainable and well-planned community and play a role in addressing the worldwide crisis of climate change. I encourage each of you to read the Envision Brighton plan and consider how you can be a part of implementing that plan for Brighton's future. During 2018, Brighton Volunteer Ambulance completed their addition to their station headquarters. The expansion increased their vehicle capacity as demand for their services continues to rise. And it also includes additional capacity for a variety of volunteer and career staff activities. BVA has also reopened their medical equipment loan program so residents can borrow crutches, walkers, and other items. I congratulate the leadership team at BVA for completing this project and thank them for the service they provide to the community. Also during 2018, all sworn members of the Brighton Police Department received mental health first aid training to assist in dealing with community members with mental health issues. Police Chief Mark Henderson and every member of the department deserve our thanks and respect for their proactive and thoughtful approach to policing. This is simply one indication of that thoughtful and proactive approach. In addition, I want to commend Chief Mark Henderson, who worked closely with Councilmember Chris Warner on drafting a safe gun storage legislation for the town of Brighton. Chris sponsored that legislation, and it's designed to address a national crisis of teen suicides, domestic violence incidents involving firearms, and unintended and often self-inflicted shootings of children, young children. This law will help keep some of the most vulnerable individuals in our community safer, and I appreciate the work that you did and that Chief Henderson did, along with Attorney to the Town Ken Gordon, in putting together this law. I mentioned a moment ago that Rick Garrett is here from the Brighton Fire. Brighton Fire Department is currently engaged in a community review of the future of its Station 3, located near Mercy High School. We appreciate the important role that the Brighton Fire Department has played in protecting the public and look forward to a plan that will ensure that the northeast part of Brighton will continue to receive fire protection and emergency medical services at the highest quality levels. Our newest council member, Christine Corrado, is the town board liaison to that committee, serving as she does as chair of our public safety committee. And along with that work and her work advocating for safe streets and for transit access in Brighton, Christine has already engaged fully in the work of the town board, following her previous service on the town's zoning board of appeals. Thank you, Christine. Brighton has long focused on increasing the amount of open space available to town residents as part of an overall focus on land use and open space planning. That focus began with my predecessor, Supervisor Sandy Frankel, who is with us this evening. That was a priority of Sandy's administration, and it remains a priority today. Thank you, Sandy. In 2018, we acquired an additional 26 acres of open space adjacent to Buckland Park, making Buckland the largest park in Brighton. We also acquired a smaller parcel of land adjacent to Persimmon Park. We've now acquired over 100 additional acres of open space in Brighton since this administration took office. Brighton has used many different approaches to acquire open space, but one of the most important tools we use is incentive zoning. It's important to describe what incentive zoning is and the advantages that can accrue to our community by using incentive zoning. Under traditional zoning, properties can be rezoned or receive variances that may permit more intensive use, which tends to increase the value of the property to the property owner. However, the local municipality does not receive any benefits, other than perhaps property tax revenues, even though there may well be negative impacts from the rezoning or the variance. Incentive zoning was created by state law and affirmed by town local law action as an alternative land use management approach to traditional zoning over 25 years ago. Incentive zoning recognizes that land use decisions can cause impacts to the community, such as increased traffic, loss of open space, noise, or the like. With incentive zoning, the town has the ability to mandate offsetting community amenities, such as open space, infrastructure improvement, or a variety of other community amenities to mitigate any negative impact from the rezoning. We can also take steps to ensure that new development actually generates full tax revenue when a project is completed. Over the years, the town of Brighton has acquired and in some cases developed open space for recreation as amenities granted through incentive zoning. Most recently, the town acquired over 72 acres of land between Westfall Road and Elmwood Avenue at a dramatic discount as part of the incentive zoning approval of the Landing at Brighton Senior Living Community. That project added to Brighton's tax base and provided housing options to seniors and their families. We were able to construct the award-winning Brickyard Trail, which has transformed our community relationship with nature and provided important community connections. Brighton has led the state in the use of incentive zoning, and most of our town park system would not exist were it not for incentive zoning. Incentive zoning will continue to be an important community development and land use tool going forward. The planned Whole Foods Plaza will be yet another example of the use of incentive zoning to review a project that will provide a broad array of benefits to Brighton while revitalizing Monroe Avenue and implementing some of the smart growth recommendations contained in the Monroe Avenue charrette and our new comprehensive plan. Approximately 84,000 square feet of retail space will be built on about 10 acres of land. Now that's a development that is much smaller than the nearby Wegmans store, but it is approximately 20% or 14,000 square feet larger than current zoning density permits. To offset that increase in density and certain other incentives, the developer will provide important community amenities to the town and to our residents. The developer will acquire the right-of-way and construct the Auburn Trail, an important connection for the community and the region from the Pittsford Town Line to Highland Avenue. This is a project that the town has desired to complete for nearly 20 years. With this project, it will happen. A service drive will be constructed behind the businesses across Monroe Avenue from the project. That service drive will connect each business to a new signalized intersection, permitting safer left turns in and out of those businesses, reducing the likelihood of traffic accidents and promoting economic development along that section of Monroe Avenue. The developer will also grant a conservation easement over property on Clover Street, providing an additional buffer to residents in the nearby area. Crosswalks will be installed at the new signalized intersection as recommended by the Monroe Avenue charrette, improving pedestrian safety and access in the area. Finally, the developer of the project will not be allowed to seek comita tax abatements, thereby ensuring that full taxes will be paid on the project when it is completed, and those taxes are estimated to total approximately $400,000 per year. A thorough traffic study and environmental review was conducted, and in response to neighborhood concerns expressed during the public hearings, the town board ultimately voted to reduce the size of the project from its initial 94,000 square feet and to eliminate project access to Allens Creek Road and Clover Street, all to protect surrounding neighborhoods. When the plaza is completed, the southern gateway to Brighton will have new vitality with traffic management improvements paid for by the developer, which will help mitigate any traffic impacts and improve vehicle and pedestrian safety in an area that does become congested at rush hour. Now, as an aside, most Brighton residents know that increased traffic speed is not the be-all and end-all. Improving traffic safety, as well as providing active transportation and transit alternatives to automobile dependency, will be even more important to our community going forward. All of those are provided by this project. Now, while I'd rather not dwell on pending litigation, which the town's attorneys consider to be without merit, there are currently a number of pending lawsuits, including at least one that sought an injunction that could have blocked demolition of the eyesore zombie buildings on the site. Fortunately, that request for an injunction, which could have perpetuated the blight that we have long tried to eliminate, was denied by the court, and demolition of those unsightly buildings is now underway. In fact, at least 19 individual claims in various of those lawsuits have already been dismissed by the court. While appeals will surely continue, I can tell the community that the town of Brighton conducted its review of this project thoroughly and openly. The town board listened and responded to neighborhood concerns in doing so, and we scrupulously followed all applicable laws, including particularly open meetings and environmental laws. We will continue to vigorously contest any claims to the contrary. This project, when completed, will generate significant tax revenue, particularly for the Brighton Central School District, which itself is facing new pressures from the proposed state budget, without increasing school enrollment or creating new demands on government services. The plaza will increase competition in food retailing, improve economic vitality, and implement plan recommendations for Monroe Avenue, as well as providing important community amenities. Nearly every day, residents of Brighton ask me when Whole Foods will be built. I believe the time is now. Change can be challenging, but it is essential if we are to continue to advance the quality of life we all desire. Looking forward, 2019 will be another year of accomplishments in Brighton. The town board laid much of the foundation for 2019 in our town budget, approved last October. The town tax rate fell dramatically, largely because of the town-wide revaluation, but the tax levy rose approximately 1.8% in full compliance with the limit in the New York State tax cap. We will continue to budget in a prudent manner, relying where possible on state and federal grants, and using incentive zoning to support quality of life projects as recommended in the comprehensive plan. The town carries a Moody's AA2 bond rating, and while the outstanding balance of town indebtedness rose somewhat as of year end, largely reflecting debt to issue that parkland acquire that parkland at Buckland Park, Brighton's outstanding debt is less than half the amount outstanding in Pittsford, Parrington, or Webster, and only slightly more than half of Penfield's outstanding debt. Each year, the New York State Comptroller reviews fiscal conditions in every community in New York State, and each year the Comptroller has found Brighton to have among the lowest levels of fiscal stress in the state. In summary, the financial state of the town of Brighton remains strong, and we will soon begin the process again to develop our 2020 budget in an open process with a commitment to fiscal responsibility. And that fiscal strength allows us to look at future projects, future opportunities to continue to enhance the quality of life in our town. The Finance Committee of the Town Board, chaired by Council Member Jason DePonzio, reviews all decisions involving expenditures of town funds before they go to the full town board, ensuring that financial oversight is always maintained. And Finance Director Paula Parker, along with Deputy Director Suzanne Zaso, deserve great credit for maintaining Brighton's fiscal integrity over the years. Thank you, Paula. Now, in 2019, we've already begun work on two important projects, again, funded largely by grants. These projects will benefit the Brighton community and our residents in many ways. First, we've started the new Brighton Winter Farmers Market in Buckland Park. The existing cinder block barn will be renovated, and utility and HVAC systems will be added in phase 1 of the project. Phase 2 will include parking and infrastructure improvements, as well as a crosswalk connecting the market to the Brickyard Trail, improving safety on Westfall Road, while phase 3 will include an addition to the existing barn. Separately, construction has begun this week on the Highland Crossing Trail, a joint Brighton-Rochester trail project that will run from the town park on Westfall Road, past Empire State College, which will be a major destination for that trail, past Brickstone, through Highland Park, and ultimately to the Genesee River Trail, north of the University of Rochester River Campus. In Rochester, portions of the trail will follow existing streets, but in Brighton, the trail will be constructed of ADA-compliant stone dust, similar to the Brickyard Trail. We expect that trail project to be completed this year, and I want to thank the Rochester officials that have been working with us, particularly with again, our Commissioner of Public Works, Mike Guyon, in bringing this project forward. It's been a long time coming. The Highland Crossing Trail will be suitable for cyclists and pedestrians and will likely be popular both with commuters into downtown Rochester as well as recreational users. Trails build and connect communities, and continuing to build out Brighton's trail network with projects like the Highland Crossing Trail and the Auburn Trail, one of the amenities from the Whole Foods project, are one of my highest priorities. While not a bricks and mortar project, community choice aggregation will drive transformative change for Brighton. CCA, as it is commonly known, is being implemented jointly under a memorandum of understanding among the towns of Brighton, Irondequoit, and Pittsford, and the village of Pittsford, to procure 100% renewable source electricity for our residents and small businesses, using bulk buying power under the direction of a CCA plan administrator. The administrator will procure power from qualifying suppliers of renewable source energy, making Brighton a more sustainable community. CCA is consistent with Governor Cuomo's state energy plan, Reforming the Energy Vision, which seeks to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40% from 1990 levels and to generate 50% of electricity in New York from renewable sources by 2030. Currently, the 4 municipalities have issued a request for proposals to retain a CCA plan administrator, with responses due on April 1st, 2019. The responses will be evaluated. An administrator will be selected this year with plan implementation likely by 2020. Also important for the entire community is our work around the issues of diversity and inclusion. We've appointed our IDEA board. The IDEA board standing for Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board. And we will soon be appointing a diversity consultant for the town of Brighton. Together, we will develop a diversity plan for Brighton and conduct a best practices review of existing town policies and procedures across the scope of operations as they relate to diversity and inclusion. This will be an ongoing effort, and I anticipate that we'll work with other important community stakeholders, like the Brighton Central School District and the University of Rochester, both of which are engaged in serious work in the area of diversity and inclusion. I thank Councilmember Robin Wilt, who has advocated for the IDEA Board and will be the town board liaison for the IDEA Board, for her strong advocacy in this area. Thank you, Robin. I also thank former council member Sheila Gaddis, who serves as special advisor to the supervisor for diversity and inclusion, for sharing her time and expertise in this serious undertaking. We will continue to expand our sidewalk network in 2019 and beyond, focusing particularly in areas where access to schools can be improved. Once again, we're being creative in funding sidewalk expansion, relying on grants and incentive zoning amenities. And we plan to construct new sidewalks on French Road, North Landing Road, and Elmwood Avenue this year. Residents interested in new neighborhood sidewalks should contact the Department of Public Works to work with the town to develop a plan for a sidewalk district extension, allowing neighbors to pay for neighborhood sidewalk construction through district charges on their tax bills. Similarly, residents in neighborhoods that do not yet have refuse districts can likely save as much as $100 or more per year on trash pickup by forming a refuse district. Again, contact the Department of Public Works and we will help your neighborhood form a refuse district, as over 40 other Brighton neighborhoods already have. The town's new beautification committee has begun work, and this year the committee will lead Brighton Clean Sweep on May 11th, right here at Town Hall, starting at 9 a.m. Our semi-annual document shredding and electronics recycling event will be May 18th, again, from 9 a.m. to noon at the Brighton Highway Department. Now, economic vitality also helps beautify the community because active businesses generally maintain the appearance of the commercial buildings they occupy. Recent business arrivals to Brighton include Arthur Murray Dance School in a building on Monroe Avenue that has been vacant for many years. It also includes Mesquite Mexican Grill, Core Life Eatery, the University of Rochester Urgent Care in the 12 Corners, and McGregor's, which has already agreed to be a sponsor of our always popular Tuesday night summer concert series at Buckland Park. Last year, longtime town assessor Elaine Ainsworth retired after successfully completing a townwide revaluation of real estate assessments, with far fewer challenges to those assessments than we anticipated. We are fortunate that we were able to promote Sue Wentworth from within our organization. Since taking over as assessor, Sue has continued the tradition of working closely with our residents, particularly with our seniors, to ensure that they understand the various exemption programs available under state law. Assessed values now better reflect true market value after the reval, which increases equity in the property tax system. The Brighton Recreation Department, led by Becky Cotter, has reorganized its program offerings and has responded to concerns that some of their programming had not always appeared to be inclusive. The response has been outstanding, and as always, Brighton Recreation programming offers fun and good health for people of all ages and backgrounds. As we continue to expand our town park system, Park Superintendent Matt Beeman and his team are busier than ever. As we build out additional trails and consider potential uses of our existing parks, look to the Parks Department to continue to step up and meet the needs of our community. I previously mentioned the start of work on the Winter Market Farm Market facility, and the Brighton Farmers Market will continue its success in the 2019 season, which begins outdoors in May. The Brighton Farmers Market is one of the few markets in the area outside of the Rochester Public Market to operate year-round. And thanks to the leadership of Market Director Sue Gardner-Smith, the market not only meets community demand for fresh local food and produce, but also builds community by bringing people together in the heart of Brighton every week for a family-friendly and healthy activity. Thank you, Sue. The Brighton Memorial Library serves hundreds of students, seniors, and families every day with books, computers, devices, and special events and programs of all kinds. Our library staff, led by Executive Director Jennifer Reese-Taggart and supported by the Volunteer Library Board of Trustees, help people with traditional library activities as well as the newest of information technologies. Hundreds of volunteer friends of Brighton Memorial Library also contribute money and time to the library each year, and their support is invaluable to the continued outstanding operations of our library. Now, all of our senior staff devote their time and energy to serving the people of Brighton, but some of them are a little less visible to the public than others, like our information technology director, Jeremy Lutz. But I can't underestimate how important Jeremy is to our organization. As we consistently find new ways to use technology, Jeremy's role is vital in maintaining critical operation, even in the face of storms, cyber threats, and all the other issues information technology faces these days. Thank you, Jeremy, for your devoted service to the town. Town Clerk and Receiver of Taxes, Dan Amon, leads a team of professionals in the clerk's office who work with members of the public in a wide variety of areas. Each individual that walks in the door of the clerk's office is given personal attention until the necessary task has been completed. Dan, you're an ombudsman. You serve our public creatively and effectively, and I'm grateful for the help you provide me, but also for the help you provide to the community. Thank you. During 2018, we lost our friend and colleague, Jim Vogel. Jim was a true Renaissance man. He served the nation as a colonel in the Marine Corps and the Marine Corps Reserve. He served his fellow veterans as an active leader in ESGR, employer support for the Guard and Reserve, ensuring that National Guard members and reservists in the workplace throughout the Rochester area were treated fairly and in compliance with the law, and that the employers in this area knew of the advantage of hiring members of the Guard and Reserves. Many people knew Jim best from his service on the town board and from his role as a champion for the Brighton Veterans Memorial, but he did so much more for the people of our town. People like Jim Vogel do not pass through our lives often, and I'm fortunate to have called Jim a friend, a colleague, and a confidant. Jim, we honor you tonight, and we will remember you forever. Judges Karen Morris and John Falk have served Brighton as judges with honor and deep respect for justice and for the rights of everyone that come before them. Very few towns have two justices as well respected as Judge Morris and Judge Falk. They take every matter that comes before them seriously, and whether or not a party is represented by counsel, they take steps to ensure that every party has a fair hearing and receives an intelligent and thoughtful decision, no matter the nature of the case. Thank you, Karen. The reputation of this court is second to none. Looking further to the future, we will continue to focus on our core values of diversity and inclusion, education, and sustainability. We've talked about them a lot tonight. Change is driving our ability to continue to advance these core values, and we must never lose sight of how important leadership in these areas will be for our future success. The state of the town of Brighton is strong, and it will only become stronger as we embrace change and together implement policies that advance these core community values. It is a privilege and an honor to serve Brighton as your town supervisor. I thank each of you for being here tonight and for the things you do, large and small, to make Brighton a better place for us all. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Now we will continue on. I'm not sure which microphone is on, but I think this one is, and I'd like to invite my friend Sandy Frankel to join me at the podium. March of each year is Women's History Month. And this year's theme, Visionary Women, Champions of Peace and nonviolence describes my predecessor, my friend, and very much my mentor, Sandy Frankel, to a T. So in honor of Women's History Month 2019, the town board has signed the following proclamation. Whereas in 1987, Women's History Month was established to commemorate and encourage the study, observance, and celebration of the vital role of women in American history. And whereas this year's theme honors visionary women, champions of peace and nonviolence, to highlight those women who have led efforts to end war, violence, and injustice, and have pioneered the use of nonviolence to change society. And whereas essential to establishing and maintaining peace and nonviolence is the cultivation of a thoughtful, open, and welcoming community. Whereas today we honor a visionary woman, an ardent supporter of diversity who sees difference as a strength and who has not only dedicated her career in public office to ensuring that Brighton be a beacon for people of all faiths, ethnicities, and background, but also engaged personally in community inclusion activities, such as the Biracial Partnership for Community Progress, the initial Mosaic Partnership established by Rochester Mayor William A. Johnson. And whereas our champion, former town supervisor Sandra L. Frankel, left a proud legacy of transparency in governing, an emphasis on inclusivity, a dedication to sustainability, and above all, a positive and peaceful view of a community that values all people and the natural environment we share. Whereas the town of Brighton is enriched by investing in community, forging connections, and renouncing hate. And we proudly recognize Supervisor Sandra L. Frankel, along with innumerable other women who sow peace and nonviolence and seek change through collaboration. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and members of our Town Council do hereby recognize March 2019 is Women's History Month in the town of Brighton, and it is with great respect that we honor Sandra L. Frankel, a true visionary woman and champion of peace and nonviolence. This proclamation is signed this 13th day of March 2019 by myself and by the members of the town board. Sandy, thank you.
Which microphone? This one?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to lower it for obvious reasons. First, thank you very much for this recognition. It's one that I really appreciate personally, but also on behalf of all of the women and the men in our community and beyond who work day in and day out for peace, equality, and respect for all people. That's something that we have to continue to do. And not only is this Women's History Month, but we also have recently just celebrated International Women's Day. And the theme of that day is really balance for better, meaning we have to strive for gender equity, equal pay, and opportunity for women everywhere. In our country, we've made some very fine progress, but we also still have a long way to go. And when you think about the fact that more than 100 countries celebrate International Women's Day, some of which, and you'd be surprised by the particular countries that have made this a national holiday, there are places around the world where women are far from equal and who really are second-class citizens, and have very little rights. And so as we work here in our own community in the town of Brighton, in Monroe County, in the state of New York, and around our country to help promote girls and women, to enable them to have opportunity for their future and for our families, for everyone really, because when half of our population is doing well, that means we're all doing well. So I want to, again, thank you and ask each and every one of you to make a personal commitment, to take action, to continue this work however you can. And there are so many ways to do it, large and small, but it's up to each one of us. And it's a wonderful opportunity to improve our world and to improve the town we call home. Thank you so much. Appreciate the recognition.
Before we go on, I also want to mention, behind the scenes, these meetings don't simply happen, and that's particularly true on a night like this in presenting the State of the Town address, and I'm very much appreciative of Assistant to the Supervisor, Bridget Monroe, for the work she puts in every second and fourth Monday to make these meetings happen. So thank you, Bridget. Okay, we will now move on, and the next part of our meeting is our open forum. As always in the open forum, we have an opportunity to address the town board on any matter, whether or not it relates to a matter on the agenda. I thank you for raising your hand. You've heard my directions and you know how we do this. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand, come to the podium. If you would introduce yourself, please, and then the podium is yours. Yes.
Hi, my name is Julie Damerel, and I'm here as a member of Stop the Canal Clear Cut, a Facebook group with over 600 members. I'm reading a message prepared by Elizabeth Ogte. I'll be handing this to the town clerk when I'm finished.
Thank you.
On February 25th and 26th, the Canal Corporation held public information meetings in Albion and Brockport to talk about their embankment restoration plan. A few days prior to these meetings, they released a video that summarized their talking points at the meeting. It is thanks to our continued advocacy that they were there offering a restoration plan at all. We had insisted on landscapers and arborists, and they did in fact hire them. They hired Nick Schwartz, a landscape architect, from a firm the Canal Corporation works with, CHA. They also hired Jason Young from local Davy Trees. That is the good news. Upon closer inspection, we realized that the CC is only addressing the privacy needs of the homeowners who live directly on the canal. Make no mistake, this is hugely important because they have lost all their privacy and the secluded beauty of their backyards. But they are the only stakeholders who will benefit from this replanting. The miles of canal that are not directly in front of a homeowner's property will be the grassy sledding hills they touted right from the beginning. Even along homeowners' property, the bushes planted along the trail will not offer shade to walkers and bikers. Elizabeth Ogte asked them directly at the Albion meeting if they planned on any embankment planting and beautification, and they said no. That was not in the plan. They made it very clear that if any planting was to be done by them along the canal, it would have to come as a direct request from elected officials. The plantings they are proposing in front of the homeowner's property will be small root ball bushes, such as red osier dogwood along the path, and larger trees, such as sugar maples, will be 25 feet from the toe of the embankment, with grassy embankments in between. Homeowners whose houses are closer to the embankment and therefore who do not have the 25-foot requirement will not be able to have trees. The CC said they would meet with anyone who asked for a one-to-one meeting to talk about the unique conditions of their property. If a homeowner does not reach out, however, it is uncertain if the CC will contact them. The videos that the CC is producing raise substantial concern because they are disseminating their message without providing an opportunity to ask questions or debate, as would be possible in public meetings. We are concerned that going forward, these videos will become their way of working around the need for public meetings. The fact that one of the videos is filmed in Barrington, one of the towns that won a court injunction against the clear cutting, suggests they still have intentions to carry out their clear cutting as previously planned. As is apparent, they continue to give us reason to be wary and concerned for the bucolic treed beauty of our beloved Erie Canal. I would say that we also have to be concerned with the habitat that has been disturbed by the cutting. 2 weeks ago, the CC requested permission from 3 towns to cut down 3 danger trees in Barrington. Elizabeth inspected the site, finding 1 dead tree supported by 2 live ones. Elizabeth suggested that the 2 trees could be spared if the CC took the tailored approach they promised in their project overview, which states that going forward they would only cut dead or felled trees. Elizabeth contacted the CC a number of times and voiced concern that this tree cutting might be a trial balloon for further cutting in our towns. We were alerted that the trees were cut last Friday. Inspection at the end of the day showed that they had cut the fallen tree out of the live tree, leaving trees 2, and had cut the 3rd tree that was arching over the canal path. We felt like this was a significant compromise. We were pleased that they stayed in communication with our 3 towns. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I can't say enough for the work that Elizabeth Agte and this group have done. As you know, the towns of Brighton, Barrington, and Pittsford sued the Canal Corporation, the CC that is referred to in that letter. We sued the Canal Corporation last year because they had blatantly failed to conduct an environmental review of a project that only, within our 3 towns was going to involve the clear cutting of acres and acres of land. They tried to slide it in under a pained interpretation of SEQR, the State Environmental Quality Review Act, but the court that reviewed the case had no trouble determining that that just didn't hold water, pun intended, and stopped them from proceeding with tree cutting in our 3 towns. And that really happened in large part thanks to the advocacy of this group. We met more recently over the winter with representatives of the Canal Corporation, and you're right, they continue to have visions of a much larger project spanning the entire breadth of New York State along the canal. One of the environmental theories we felt was clearly at play and still is at play is segmentation. They were trying to get an environmental review of a very small part of a very large project. We have gotten some verbal assurances from the Canal Corporation that they recognize that this is a type 1 project under SEQR and that in fact it will require full environmental review, including preparation of an environmental impact statement. But you used the words wary and concerned, and I think that pretty much summarizes where I am as well as I look at their actions to date. They continue to seem to see this as a dam, the banks of their canal as a dam. and are applying, frankly, principles that make no sense here. Thanks to the help of Elizabeth and the members of this group, I think we will have the capability, and I know my fellow supervisors in Pittsford and Parrington will continue to work with the clear-cut group, but also to watch very closely the activities of the Canal Corporation. This isn't something that's going to happen overnight. As those of you that followed along with some of the large environmental reviews that we've conducted here in Brighton, environmental review is a major effort in and of itself. And one of the things I know I'm going to be advocating for is to make sure that as part of that process, there are real, open, public hearings, including review of the scope of the project and the environmental review. Those are all things that are permitted under seeker, and for a project of this scope, they should be conducted under seeker. So, thank you for reporting. I know that similar reports are going to be brought to the Pittsford and Parrington Town Board meetings, and if they want to hear from concerned elected officials, there are 3 town supervisors in those 3 towns who will continue to advocate for our canal. Thank you. I saw Judy with her hand up, and then I'll call on you, Sandy. Judy.
Judy Schwartz, 179 Ashbourne Road. I'm very happy to announce that Interfaith Impact of New York State is holding its annual legislative briefing this Sunday, March 17th at 2 o'clock at Asbury First United Methodist Church. And our topic is God's Own Junkyard, Environmental Stewardship in New York, 2019. We're really pleased to bring in Dr. Sandra Steingraber, who we can really thank for banning fracking in New York State. She led the fight. I mean, I think she went to jail over it too. But every day she would send out a very well-written fact to hundreds, maybe even thousands of us, and then we could write letters to Albany about it, and she was just on it all the time. So she's coming in to be our keynote. We also have Harry Bronson, who will bring us up to date at the state level, Reverend David Inglis, who is a United Church of Christ minister, presenting a theological approach to the ecology, and then a student from Brighton High School, Hurdesh Singh, and he will be representing the youth perspective. It is free, open to the public. I encourage everyone to attend. It's a crisis. It really is. And I learned something. Sandra, Dick Gilbert, and Dave Inglis were on Evan Dawson on Monday, and it's just not the air. I mean, we're losing insects who pollinate the plants for the food that we eat. The water's where the fish are. I mean, it's really serious. So I encourage you to come. I'll leave this for people. Thank you.
There are so many insidious things going on that are all contributing to environmental degradation. Thank you.
Right. And one thing, in closing, Sandra said something that really made me feel great, and I think our whole planning committee. She said it is really religions and the youth who are carrying this moving forward, and this couldn't be a better example. So thank you.
Thanks, Judy. While you're up there, I want to thank you again for the wonderful potluck, Brighton Neighbors United potluck dinner that you held. It was a fun evening, but a really informative and inspiring evening. Anytime you have the opportunity to listen to Sebastian, one, hear of his own personal journey from the Sudan to this country to escape the Civil War as one of the lost boys who walked literally hundreds of miles across his own country to freedom. And to hear the work that he's doing back in his homeland, building mines in South Sudan. If that doesn't inspire you, nothing will. And so thank you for bringing him to us. Sandy.
As one of the members of the Canal Clear Cut group that has advocated for sanity in the moves that that the Canal Corporation is taking with removal of trees and shrubs and plans for the future. I want to just point out one historical tidbit. Ted Curtis, who really was the founder of and a longtime champion of the business that provides the Mary,
Patch.
the Sam Patch and the Mary Jemison,
right.
And has worked on canal issues for years and did so until his passing, was very concerned about the stretch in Monroe County, in particular, for boaters on the canal who are desperate in search of shade. And they wanted to see more trees and more access to places where the boaters could pull up and could have some respite, because a lot of the canal stretch doesn't have that. And so removing more of those trees is something that runs counter to the recreational aspect and benefit, which is an economic driver as well for our communities. So you might want to just add that little tidbit in and know that he is the one who really brought that to our attention here in Brighton.
Well, I think it's ironic that, among the stretches, because you're right, there are a number of stretches, particularly on the east side of the county, that don't have a lot of trees. One of those is the stretch known as the Great Embankment. And ironically, that was the area that suffered a failure. But that failure had nothing to do with roots or trees
Right.
or plants or anything of the sort. That section of the canal failed because of human activity, human boring that was intended to go underneath the canal and instead weakened the banks, causing a very serious collapse and flood. And one only wonders, we've gone 100 years without any indication that vegetation has caused any catastrophic failure along the canal, and yet we have seen man-made collapses along the canal. What will this dramatic increase in human activity, in clear cutting miles and miles of canal, the risk that activity itself could cause? It really is just mind-boggling.
It does boggle the mind, because there are studies that indicate that trees really do help to stabilize steep slopes and embankments.
There are, and in fact-
And so that's something that has to be brought forward as part of the environmental review that will be undertaken.
There was a professor that testified that did an affidavit as part of the proceeding, and that was the gist of his argument, is that far from undermining the bank, the roots strengthen.
It's stabilized.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Thanks,
Thank you.
Sandy. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Josh?
Thank you. My name is Joshua Barth. I'm the county legislator for District 24, which encompasses parts of southeast Rochester as well as north central Brighton. And I occasionally come into the town board meetings to give an update on what's going on in the county legislature. I'm going to be brief today. The only thing I really want to discuss is the recent proposal to increase funding for reimbursements for children who need services ages 3 to 5. This is not early intervention. That is the ages 0 to 3, and that's controlled by the state. This is something that the county can't impact. The idea being that we'll increase reimbursement rates by approximately 15% at a cost of between $600,000 and $800,000. While this is a positive step, it has to be pointed out that it's just one step in the middle of what's turning into a calamity. And that's not overstating things. As of Tuesday, we were informed by public speakers and who know there is now a waiting list of people who've been approved for services, children who've been approved for services, of 195. A year ago at this time, it was 3. It's just going up and up and up. And this list is just going to get longer and longer. And the cause, it has many factors. One factor is, in fact, providers, OT, PT, speech language, and a number of other providers have been provided very little in terms of reimbursement. In fact, they've not had any increase in 20-some years. They only have received decreases in that time frame. And they have had terrible difficulties in retaining individuals to do these services. And the challenge then is they'll go on to other ventures to feed their families. They'll go into the school system, or they'll go into the medical system itself. And so this is one small step, but it's something that we need to recognize is not a proactive step. It's not a step that solves the problem. It's merely one small, positive, but small step we need to take. We need to take many other steps. And we need to work in collaboration with these providers, both in terms of the organizations that hire providers, but also individuals who are self-employed. And so for the legislation we have before us now, which I cannot imagine will not be supported by all, but there's some questions to ask. For example, the funding provided is only for this year, only for this fiscal year, and does not consider going into the future. It is also unclear whether or not this is retroactive to the beginning of the year or not. That needs to be determined. And finally, a critical component, because I did learn that the county does treat providers who are independent differently than providers who are going through a corporation or a company. They get paid less if you're independent. Whether or not this increase will apply to the independent service providers as well. Because when we're talking about 195 children who are not receiving services, who legally are entitled to these services, okay, this is not going to be solved by raising reimbursement rates by 15%, because it takes time for people to come in. The quicker responding people are going to be individuals, those who might be attracted by this. So I want to make sure that, in fact, this piece of legislation includes them in this small but positive step. And so I just wanted to report on that. I said this is going to happen, but much more needs to happen, not just in the near future, but moving into the years ahead of as well. This is not going to be a simple solution.
Do you have any idea what the rationale might be for treating group practices differently from individual practices?
When I asked providers about that, they actually said, no, they don't know. There's no understanding of why that would be the case. I would be speculating only if I were to say something along the lines of, perhaps the idea was that if you're dealing with a group practice, there's cost benefit to dealing with a large organization as opposed to individuals in terms of bureaucracy or paperwork and things like that. But that's just speculation, and no one's indicated that at all. I don't think there is a rationale, to be honest.
Okay.
I think it's just past practice.
Okay.
So it's just something that we need to be aware of as a community. It's not going away, and it is a crisis, and it's something that we need to address. And then finally, I just want to bring up a second aside, a small point. I was very pleased to see the American Sign Language interpreters here today. We were lucky enough to have them in the county legislature full-fledged meeting last Tuesday, so 2 days ago. And they do come when a request is made. It's my hope that we'll have these interpreting services available regardless of requests being made, because the fact is we do have records that we keep that are on video that you can actually access on YouTube if you're ever interested. They're not closed captioned, and there are no interpreting giving on screen as well. So we're looking to introduce some legislation that's going to make the legislature meetings itself more transparent, as well as to require that transparency of all county operations and facilities, particularly in the cases of emergencies and such, where it is not done. It is not a common practice. So I'm actually very excited to see Brighton leading again, and something that's a critical piece, and a part of our responsibility of being good stewards of governance. So I was very pleased to see them both here today. So thank you for being here. And
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you so much, all.
And yeah, I do. Again, I really appreciate Tony and Dale, who are here tonight interpreting for us. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum? Hearing none, we will continue with the agenda. And can I have a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the materials that were submitted to the town clerk concerning the canal?
So moved.
Second.
Deanne, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Can I have a motion to receive and to approve and file The town board meeting minutes for January 23rd, February 13th, and February 27th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on any of those? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Next matter, Chris.
Next item is to set a public hearing date for April 10, 2019 for the removal of trees located at 882 South Grosvenor on Landon, 99 Dale Road, 33 Drury Lane, 199 Thackeray Road, and 45 Knolltop Drive. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Mike, anything you'd like to add to what's in the material that is submitted?
Not necessarily. The only thing I'd like to add is when the tree council did review these trees, the trees were such as 45 Knollwood. They recommended a single tree replacement as opposed to three individual tree replacements. So we'll be doing a single tree replacement.
Okay.
To clarify, there are 3 trees that are proposed to be removed at that address.
Right, and we will be replacing one tree. And
That is correct.
and that was at the recommendation of the
Tree
tree
council.
council?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Motion to receive and file the single item of communication.
So moved.
Second.
And that item of communication relates to the landmark designation by our Historic Preservation Commission of property located at 2351 East Avenue. We have motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Committee reports. Robin, Community Services.
The Community Services Committee has not met in the intervening time frame since the last town board meeting, but I did just want to highlight a couple of events that we do have upcoming. One of which is the semi-annual Drug Enforcement Agency Pharmaceutical Take Back Day. That will occur at the Brighton Town Hall's Public Safety Wing here at 2300 Elmwood Avenue on Saturday, April 27th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. In addition to that, one community event we have upcoming is the Brighton Little League Opening Day for 2019. That will be here at the Brighton Town Hall, will commence here at the Brighton Town Hall complex, and we will be having a parade. And that will be on Saturday, May 4th from 10 a.m. And as Bill mentioned, we do have our Brighton Annual Clean Sweep the following weekend here at Brighton Town Hall, beginning at 9 a.m., ending at 2 p.m. That's Saturday, May 11th. And our semi-annual Electronics Recycling and Document Shredding event at the Brighton Highway Department, 1941 Elmwood Avenue, on Saturday, May 18th from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be on Wednesday, March 20th, 2019, at 9:30 a.m. at the Brookside School, which is at 220 Idlewood Road. As always, we welcome members of the public.
It is a busy time of year with all those great
It is.
activities. Thank you, Robin. Jason, Finance.
Yes, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met last Tuesday, March 5th. Each of the items discussed at committee will be reviewed and presented in this evening's town board agenda. Another item that was discussed during our FASC meeting was regarding the IDEA, the Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board, the request for qualifications and proposal process. 4 consultants responded to the request for qualifications for professional services, and 3 of the 4 submitters were interviewed by the IDEA Search Committee. The materials will be forwarded to the members of the FASC committee as well as to the town board, and it'll be presented on our next FASC agenda for discussion, review, and possible recommendation to the town board. And at that meeting, which will be held on Tuesday, March 19th, we meet at 3:30 in the afternoon in the Stage Conference Room here at Town Hall, and the public is invited to attend.
Thanks, Jason. Public safety.
So Public Safety met yesterday morning with updates from our Public Safety Services. Brighton Ambulance reports that calls for service in February were up to 488. They are pressing through social media to make residents aware that they can provide special attention during weather events for those who are medically dependent on electricity. If you are a resident who requires electricity continuity in this uncertain weather that we get these days, you can contact Brighton Ambulance. They will put you on a list. They will take extra care to see that you are well during those events. You can find contact information for them at brightonambulance.org. They also announced that they are planning for their spring open house on Sunday, May 19th from 1 to 4 p.m. So it'll be springtime soon. You can go visit. They also report that there is a concern with the upcoming proposed New York State budget that cuts to Medicare funding will impact them negatively. Please take some time to review the state budget and voice your concern there too to our state representation. Brighton Fire Department, 406 calls year to date, down 91 calls from 2018. We're being safer. The citizen committee meeting that the citizen committee that was referred to earlier today also met yesterday, working towards understanding best options for Station 3. We'd like to reiterate that there are meetings to explore opportunities in the Brighton Fire Department on March 19th, which is next Monday. There's a prospective member meeting for volunteer firefighters, and there will be a college bunker program meeting on March 23rd. College students can explore the benefit of living in and learning firefighting while also learning towards their college degrees. And currently 5 new firefighters are at the New York State Fire Academy in training and will be ready to go very soon. Public Works shared an update lauding everyone on the winter weather related responses, and Public Works also earns kudos as well for handling the weather issues so well. Springtime is coming, so chip sealing will be starting on roadways. All those places where there are divots and bumps, we'll be seeing less divot and bumping. And they will, with the weather starting to shift, debris pickup is ongoing. So put your brush and yard debris at the curb, not in the street, and the crews will continue to pick up as they can in between clearing the roads. Brighton Police also shared an update. This is the planning stage for special events. As Robin noted in Community Services, dates that will impact the community are the May 4th Little League Parade, the May 14th Indian Landing Duathlon, the May 11th Lilac Parade, the May 19th Lilac 5 and 10K race, and the May 26th Flower City Challenge along a portion of East River Road. So be prepared to see a lot of running through the streets. And they also noted that Country Club of Rochester has put in their permit for the July 4th fireworks. So notification will be going out to neighbors nearby. City of Rochester Fire Department, which serves West Brighton, noted that they've had 130 calls year to date. And in a particular public matter, there is community concern over ducks on Elmwood Avenue. We're looking into solutions that will allow the ducks to cohabitate with Brighton residents, but not be a nuisance. So we are working towards finding optimal solutions for that. The next meeting of the Public Safety Committee will be Tuesday, April 9th in the lower conference room here in Town Hall at 8 in the morning, and the public is always welcome.
Thank you, Christine. Public Works.
Bill, the monthly meeting of Public Works Committee was on March 5th, last week. We had a number of contracts we looked at. The landfill grinding contract, which grinds up our yard debris and so forth. There was only one bidder that submitted an interest in that project, but that contract, but that's the same outfit that's been handling it up till now, Green Renewable, and they've agreed not to charge us anything for that service, as they have in the past. The GIGP maintenance contract was let for bid, and those bids are due in on March 13th. I've gotten a couple of interested parties on that, and we look forward to opening those bids. The lawn mowing contract also was advertised for bids, and they're due in by March 27th. With respect to the reserve, town staff are currently preparing bid documents for the remaining work at the reserve that will be performed with trust funds being held by the reserve for that service to develop some of the roadways and curbs and underground improvements as well. The town has secured the letter of credit and intends to fund the roadway improvements with the remaining money in the letter of credit. With respect to the East River Road structure, there's been a concern expressed over the years about the let's say, stability and condition of a number of, let's say, informal structures along the river. And the town continues to have an interest in the improvement of those, but we are having difficulty moving forward with any kind of demolition or even considering demolition and citation because of the unsettled relationship between the county and the town for reimbursement of our demolition expenses if we had to take that action. So at this point, pending the resolution of the county litigation, we're unable to move forward on that. East Avenue sidewalks, the construction of this sidewalk is been deemed, this is the connection between the Pittsford project, which is an extension of sidewalks. It's quite an extended sidewalk project funded by the state. And we'd love to see that linked from the Pittsford end into where we start sidewalks along East Avenue in Brighton. Unfortunately, there's a high bank and several monumental trees in that very short stretch of the sidewalk route. We've had various studies done through Mike Guyan's office as to the feasibility of that, and it's been deemed that the cost of dealing with that high bank and the loss of those significant trees has left us with no option but to have to be unable to make this linkage. At the same time, we're requesting that the New York State Department of Transportation consider some treatment along the shoulder of East Avenue, which will be 4.5 feet wide for that very short stretch to perhaps delineate that for pedestrian traffic. We also had extended discussion about a renovation, repair, and painting certification, or RRP certification, as being a component of our building permitting process, that the town staff verify that the contractors that are doing renovation, repair, and painting that require building permits provide certification of their training and certification as being skilled in handling lead paint, which is very important, a very dangerous situation for the community and therefore very important. We are still considering the matter. It's left on the town's agenda, and we were waiting to see what sort of action the state was taking with respect to lead paint, and because that was imminent at the time, and also to check with some of the other towns and the city as to how they were handling it. But we did note, and Robin is carrying carrying that issue actively forward so that we see that the town is checking those certifications and how best to coordinate that with other towns' treatment of that. Also, we looked at a series, quite a number of trees, 5 of which are on tonight's agenda for hearings for removal and replacement, and/or removal and replacement. Also, Mike Guyan updated us on the hiring of Brett, is it Carlock, is that correct? Carlock, as a Geographic Information Systems Analyst. for our Public Works Department. This geographic information systems is essentially mapping of our town services. It's an interesting concept, but you can well appreciate how much more information we will have and be able to coordinate our services, both where our trucks are, where different development projects are located within the town, giving us a visualization geographically of where these different projects are ongoing. And I'm excited to see what we have, and we're looking forward to Mike's continued update on us. Much of this might be available on our town website. Others would be available through maps in the office here. So that's a new innovation that we're looking forward to. Our next meeting will be April 2nd at 9:00 a.m.
Thank you, Chris. New business. Jason, reading and approval of claims.
Yes, earlier this evening, I reviewed claims totaling $388,576.61. Notable claims include to BLM Construction Company in the amount of $30,647 for construction work performed on the Winters Farmers Market building, which is the first payment less the retainage amount. Next, to Haynes Supply Incorporated in the amount of $7,477.80, representing the purchase of a lateral camera system for sanitary sewer maintenance and repair as budgeted. Also to Henderson Equipment in the amount of $8,500 for an 11-foot reversible plow to be used in our highway department. And also to Webster Ford Incorporated in the amount of $28,091.37 for the purchase and delivery of one 2019 Ford F-150 pickup truck for our animal control department. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris?
Next item is to approve Highway Department appointments. I move that we adopt the resolution before us with respect to the promotion of a number of, 4 highway employees.
Second.
These are backfilling as happens and as people retire and other internal folks move up. Some great people there doing good work. Any further discussion on any of that? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Robin?
The next matter seeks to authorize a supervisor to execute a contract with Green Renewable, Inc. for grinding mulch and yard debris. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And as was mentioned in the earlier Public Works Committee report, this will continue the terms that we have in place now, essentially, at least the pricing terms, which are that we will not be paying them for this work, which is a good thing. I see the finance director always smiles when we.
And I see that it includes 2 additional one-year terms at our option.
At our option, that's correct.
Right, and the letter from Mr. Roscoe didn't quite say that, Mike. So we do want to check back with the contractor just to verify that, and that's why.
On the renewal.
On the renewals,
Yes.
right.
Okay.
Yep.
Just so I have an opportunity to review that contract before
Yep.
we sign it.
Okay, yep, absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ken. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter seeks authorization to solicit bids for various construction services to complete infrastructure improvements at the Reserve subdivision. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Again, this was mentioned before. To the extent that we are going to have to step in and do some of this work with proceeds of those letters of credit, we're going to bid the work out as required by law. We have a motion and a second there. Any further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris?
Next item is to approve the declaration of 4 2018 Bobcat skid steer loaders as surplus to be traded for 4 new 2019 Bobcat skid steer loaders through Bobcat's buyback program. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And this is a continuation of a program that we've used for these pieces of equipment, sometimes for other pieces of equipment as well. When the manufacturers have these programs, we basically own the piece of equipment for a year, trade them in on a new item. It comes in particularly handy, and we do look at these very closely every time we renew the budget to see what the effective, useful life equivalency is. But in particular, on some of these things, there are often expenses like for tires. Some of these are on tires, some of them are on tracks, that can wind up being very expensive. And in both of these cases, we've looked at these and it makes sense. We're going to have to eye the one contract very closely next year because we all felt it was right on the edge as to whether it does in fact continue to make sense, but the terms this year do. So thank you for continuing that effort to do that. And you know what it does, of course, it does two things. Obviously, we got new equipment every year, so there's a lot less maintenance, but it also means they're on the job. We don't have to worry about scavenging other equipment.
Right.
The new stuff is on the job working for us. We have it when we need it. So
I think, Bill, so that people understand that this is costing us essentially $4,000 per unit for a whole year's service with a brand-new unit coming in replacement. That seems very reasonable. I mean,
absolutely.
it's
It's a lot better deal than you get on for example, if you drive a new Ford off the showroom floor and you come back and you see if you can get 90% of its value a year later. And that isn't going to happen. So this is good.
The Bobcats are our workhorses too. They do quite a bit.
They are.
Yeah.
All right, we have that motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Christine.
On the matter of, the next matter is acceptance of the STOP DWI grant from Monroe County in an amount totaling $27,770.24. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
This, again, is a program that we have engaged with Monroe County for many, many years as part of our DWI enforcement. Captain Desane, it's good to see you here tonight while the chief is not available. Anything to add on this?
We're, strong supporters of this grant. We run routine enforcement out there, and we have volunteers to work it, and it's proven successful.
Great. And this grant does help and
It does, sir. Yes, sir.
take care of some of the costs of doing it. Thank you. We have that motion and a second. Further discussion at all? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor, the one thing I want to mention, one of my favorite days of the year, last Friday, I had the opportunity to go to Brighton High School and teach the law and government class, which I do every semester. Their teacher, Dan Wilson, brings in a number of community leaders to talk with them. What I've done over the years is talk a little bit about town government, but spend most of the time giving the students the opportunity to participate in sort of a mock public hearing in the only slightly fictional town of Barrontown. Barrontown seems like a great city. It's got these 3 roads that come together. They have what they call the 12 corners in the middle of Barrontown. It really sounds like a cool place. But in any event, what makes it kind of fun, those of you that have been on the board for a couple years will recall a few years ago we repealed an old law that prohibited so-called games of amusement within 500 feet of places of worship, schools, and the like. And it was one of those antiquated laws. It was sort of straight out of The Music Man. You know, we got trouble right here in Barrontown City. When I mention The Music Man, I get lots of blank expressions from today's high school students, but that's okay. And we have a discussion, and the 4 students who join me as the members of the fictional board, ultimately, after the public hearing ends, vote on the law. They have yet to vote to approve the law. Every year they vote it down. And at the end of the class, I let them in on the secret that this was, in fact, a real law in the town of Brighton until just a couple years ago. And for a variety of reasons, not the least of which being that everybody that walks not only 500 feet, but walks into places of worship and schools have one of these, and they can play all the games of amusement that they want on their phones. So we rescinded that law, but it's a great opportunity for them to see up close how town government works. This year's class was terrific. They asked a bunch of great questions. I always start with a few plants just to make sure that discussion gets rolling. But boy, I'll tell you, this year we had a great discussion. Some thoughts were brought up that frankly haven't been raised before in the class, so I always enjoy it and look forward to doing it again next semester. Matters of the attorney to the town.
Thank you, Bill. Last meeting, I talked a little bit about my trip down to New York and the Association of Towns meeting, and tonight's discussion about the canal clear-cutting plans brought to mind an additional session that I attended, which was a session on the new seeker regulations that went into effect on January 1st of 2019. And it may be useful for those who are interested in this canal clear cutting that the new seeker regs effective now require scoping now in all environmental impact statement reviews, and as part of an environmental impact statement review, an evaluation of measures to avoid or reduce impacts on climate change. And last I checked, clear cutting the trees might have an impact on climate change. So just thoughts for those who are listening in the community and those on the board who are interested in that subject. And lastly, to restore Supervisors Maley's faith in the Broadway musical interests of the youth in our community, I can tell you, because I attended a performance of The Music Man at Roth Middle School just this past weekend, so at least those in the western part of our town who are in the RH school district do still appreciate The Music Man.
Outstanding. Thanks, Ken. I was also in that seeker presentation, and thank you for seeker regulations are a dense topic.
That's why I love them.
Perfect. Thank you. Dan, matters of the town clerk?
Nothing this evening.
Thank you. Matters of the town board?
A few rec announcements.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Our winter and spring programming is continuing. We'd like to remind everyone that there's still plenty of new programs and events starting up with the rec department. We invite all of the community to see what you've been missing over at Brighton Rec. Registration is required for our programs at Brighton Recreation, and space is limited. Registration may be done online, by mail, or in person at the Recreation Department at www.townofbrighton.org/rec. The Town of Brighton After School program is accepting new participants, and we hope that you'll join us for our very flexible, affordable after-school program for children in 1st through 5th grades. It's held right at the Brookside Recreation Center, and you can register for 1 or 5 days per week for the same price. Full details and a program handbook can be found on the town website, or you can call the Recreation Department directly for more information at 585-784-5260. I just wanted to mention that at the Brighton Central Schools District, they will be having their second in a series of Be the Healing sessions. They're community forums that are designed to allow your voice and feedback on issues of diversity and equity and the D&E committee's work at the school district. The second forum will be held at 6 p.m. on Monday, March 18th in the Administration Building boardroom. And so we hope you can join us there. We have a special event coming up, the Bunny Bash, on Friday, April 5th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Brookside Recreation Center. There is free admission, but registration is required for the event. This is sure to be a hopping good time for the whole family.
Who writes this material?
There will be music, a bounce house, light snacks, and age-appropriate
More
entrance.
hopping. Hopping in the bounce house.
That's right, hopping in the bounce house as well. In addition, we have a Build a Bunny exercise this year for a $20 fee. And as always, there will be a visit from the Spring Bunny. And the ever-popular Youth Fishing Derby will be on Saturday, April 27th from 9 a.m. to 12 noon at Brighton Town Park, Carmen Clark Lodge. This is available for ages 5 to 15. There is a $5 charge per person, and children must be accompanied by an adult. And on Friday, May 3rd, lots of programming in the spring. We have Family Bingo Night. That is from 6 to 7:15 p.m. at the Brookside Recreation Center, 220 Idlewood Road. The cost is $8 per person. Finally, on Friday, June 7th, we have our Family Spring Fling. That will be at the Buckland Park Lodge from 6:30 to 8 p.m. The price is $10 per person. But please do check out our recreation website and Facebook page for a full list of events. We have up-and-coming programs of interest, such as hand-lettered sign workshop, the Pio Live workshop, gardening with a pro, ticks, an informative session, creative cupcakes, kids' kitchen party, ukulele, bridge, aerial dance, and so much more. So please do check out our programs with the Brighton Rec Department.
Thank you, Robin. Christine, did you want to?
Yes, just wanted to give a quick update on transit service and plans for the reimagining of RTS. On the 4th of March, there was a community mobility zone public forum in Henrietta. It's one of the sites of the anticipated community mobility zones, which RTS anticipates implementing to provide that last mile service after the regularly scheduled fixed routes come to a hard stop in those areas. While Henrietta is not Brighton, those buses do travel through Brighton and impact residents and those who live, work in the area, getting to and from work, school, home, whatever. It was a very informative meeting, but there is still some concern that those who count on public transit to reach school, reach medical offices, reach shopping, reach
jobs,
work, anything.
Jobs.
Pretty much anything you would get in your personal vehicle to do may not be covered as effectively as hoped by public transit. Further, there is not significant attention being given to how to grow ridership with this plan. However, RTS is still open to input and is holding further forums. I wanted to be sure that folks who count on paratransit know that there is another session available on, bear with me one moment, this Friday, the 15th. It will be held at the Center for Disability Rights, and it's another opportunity to understand better how paratransit will be working in conjunction with these new community mobility zones and the revised fixed routes.
Christine, that is when, March 15th at CDR, at what time?
I apologize for not having it literally at my fingertips.
I had,
5:30 to 7:30.
okay.
And-
Because I had a, really, and I'll tell you about it later, but just it took my breath away what the parent of someone who uses Access RTS today and the challenges that their family is going through to facilitate this young woman's participation as a disabled individual in a number of activities. It was eye-opening. I learned a lot, and I'm going to pass that along. Thanks.
Very good. And I must correct the time. It's this Friday, the 15th, from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Center for Disability Rights.
Got it. All right. Thank you. Can unless there is anything more, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second?
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. Thank you very much. Our next board meeting will be Wednesday night, March 27th, again, 7 p.m. right here. Have a great evening, everybody.